one thing that people need to understand is that this is mainstream science. There have been several hundred known geomagnetic pole shifts in the last few million years that we're aware of, and it's measurable and it's accelerating. For example, in the 1980s, the North Pole was shifting at something like 7 miles per year. Just up to 10 years ago, it was 30 miles, and now it's at like 38 miles a year. Correct me if these numbers are off, but it is accelerating. And that's what the data shows, is that it starts slowly. The mainstream science will say it's over, several, tens of thousands of years is the process. But when it finally does do its actual flip, it's quite quick.
That snap, exactly when that's going to be, that is a difficult thing to peg down. All we can do is know that these things happen on a fairly regular cycle. Every 12,000 years, there's a major one of these that they like to call a geomagnetic excursion. And then on the half cycles of that, every 6,000 years, there's a mini excursion. The last mini excursion was 6,000 years ago. The last major one was called the Gothenburg event 12,000 years ago. The one 24,000 years ago was called Lake Mungo. Mono Lake before that, Lachamp before that, Vostok before that, Toba before that. And so we are not only directly on time for the next one to be occurring, whether you look at the last mini cycle, which was 6,000 years ago, or the last full cycle, 12,000 years ago. Not only are we right on time, but the magnetic poles are shifting and the magnetic field is weakening exactly as one would expect during this time. And believe it or not, there is a very good chance that the Earth is going to do a 90-degree tilt.
Nope. Wait. So that means like Antarctica could melt?
No. Look, there's still glaciers in the tropics today. In Africa, in Indonesia.
Really?
If after 12,000 years of a warm interglacial cycle, we still have glaciers in the tropics, back previous cycles and in a glacial cycle, you could throw Antarctica to the equator and leave it there for 12,000 years. It's not going to melt away.
Wow. It is a glacier in a warm place. A photograph of a large chunk of ice in a tropical area. Important to know.
Our solar system is in the galactic arm, which is going like this. And every time it goes up, the Earth's magnetic field swaps down, and then every time the galactic arm waves down again, the Earth's poles are like going,
that's very
whoop,
close.
Whoop.
That's very close to what it is. Very, very close. The galactic magnetic field, it wraps around the whole galaxy. But the part where the north and the south magnetic fields are separated are not a straight flat line through the equator of the galaxy. It ripples outward like a ballerina skirt. And so it literally looks like a wave coming like this. And it's moving throughout the galaxy as well. And as this wave crest passes by our solar system, our entire solar system goes from the north to the south to the north to the south magnetic fields. It's basically a galactic magnetic reversal. They have spotted this electric current sheet separating the north and south. They have detailed it very well. We know that this wave is tens of light years thick. This is also mainstream science, but only amongst galactic astrophysics. You try to bring that same science into, okay, well, what's this doing to the sun? What's this doing to the Earth? And they don't want to hear it. And when you look, it's not just the Earth that's changing right now. The sun's magnetic fields are changing. Venus is changing. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, even Pluto, they're all changing even more than the Earth is. Earth's lucky enough to have one of the strongest magnetic fields in the solar system, especially relative to its size. Earth's atmosphere has about 55% more dust in its upper layers than it did about a century ago. They're noticing more ions, more neutral gases. The Voyager probes out past Pluto, they're detecting magnetic pressure fronts and magnetic shock waves and other things of that nature. On Neptune, the superstorms have reversed direction. I mean, imagine if all of a sudden hurricanes started forming off the coast of Florida and then just shot eastward across the Atlantic towards Africa. We would say, well, no, that's not how Earth works. That can't happen. Well, okay, same thing with Neptune, except it just did happen. This does happen every 6,000 years, and then on a greater level every 12,000 years. And at no point has it ever killed the whole planet.
I think that this might be a good segue into differentiating the difference between geomagnetic pole shifts and actual flips. So to anyone listening, a geomagnetic pole shift means that our compasses will flip. Like north will now be south and vice versa. And those happen, within tens of thousands of years, 6,000 years. But one thing, the last time we had an actual flip where the Earth physically flips,
I see the Earth doing that 90-degree tilt every 12,000 years on the geomagnetic excursions.
So 90-degree tilt would Is that going to put the North and South Pole at the equator? Or
Essentially, Greenland is at the equator. Geologists said these layers are separated by about 10 to 12,000 years, which is the perfect geomagnetic cycle, the perfect cycle on which the Earth goes back and forth on this tilt. Is it literally either that is absolutely true and the world tilts 90 degrees as these geomagnetic pole shifts occur, as is about to happen in the next 20 years, or the government has literally targeted me like they did Bob Lazar as an instrument to release this information, and then at the same time completely censored my YouTube channel, got me kicked off of
Makes
Twitter.
you look more credible to crazy conspiracy theorists like me.
Maybe.